his screen name. It is not a real name. He's a real person. He works for the National Climatic Data Center in Asheville, but he is originally from Hickory, and he's lived the weather in Hickory, North Carolina all of his life, and he knows it very, very well. So that is a big reason that we do so well. And let me put this down just a second and take the screensaver off. It tells you my other affiliation, of course, is Appalachian State. Okay, so we have been in Hickory, I think, since 2003. I'm not one to keep up with dates very well. I don't keep up with much of that. But our current weather station sponsor is the Subaru dealership just down the road. So we appreciate Armstrong Subaru for being a sponsor. If you haven't been here before, we're pretty simple as far as layout. You can find things. There's our forecast. If you want all kinds of details about the weather, let's see when it rained today. You can sneak down here and give you an idea of when the heaviest rain was. You can check out the last 24 hours. From there, you could spend the next hour exploring various things, archive data, all kinds of things about Hickory. But we cover much more of the area than just Hickory, and I want to tell you a little bit of our story, and I'm going to do it as efficiently as I can. And I really appreciate y'all getting me up here a little before 12:40 so I can make sure I'm done on time. But let me tell you a little bit about myself first, and as we get started. Often someone comes up to me and says, "Ray, I love your weather station." I kind of cringe, like, we're way more than a weather station, even though we started with weather stations, and we are. In fact, this station depicted here, I probably should have had the picture of David standing on top of that roof, putting that weather station and webcam up. But that one there is actually at the Blue Ridge Parkway headquarters down in Asheville. That's on their service building on the back. Probably one of my greatest accomplishments ever was getting weather stations and webcams inside of government networks and being able to bring them to you live and free of charge. That may be one of my greatest accomplishments. It took 2 years to get that done. But we have a lot going on. But it's far more than a weather station. It's about people, first of all. It's about forecasts, and then weather, and a whole lot more. Frequently, I'm asked, is there really a Ray? And the answer is yes, and you're seeing him right here. And at this point, I teach the class at Appalachian State for computer scientists, where we teach our students professional skills and how to do their resumes and cover letters and all that kind of stuff. And many people are very reluctant to talk about themselves and say what they've done, and I have to tell them, okay, that's the place to do it, and so this is the place I'm going to do it, but I won't do it for very long. I have a doctorate from Georgia Tech in computer science. I've met some other Georgia Tech folks already here. I'll forgive Philip for being from Athens, but that's another story. I've been at Appalachian State since 1991. My wife also is Appalachian State. She's a former kindergarten teacher and teaches early childhood education at App State. When we moved to Boone in '91, weather was so phenomenal. I mean, it was just amazing to me, the things that happened. I never imagined. Lived through the blizzard of '93, which you all lived through as well. And I had been interested in weather before. I'd worked in commercial aviation. I'd done research with NASA in commercial aviation. And if we have pilots in the room, weather is all about flying, since you're up in the weather. And it just really rekindled my interest in weather. And so I started reading college textbooks and started publishing a snow forecast on my university website, just as a hobby, just as a fun thing to do. And this is the right time of year for me to talk about raised weather and its founding, because in 1998, Rhonda, my dear wife over here, gave me a weather station as a Christmas present. I'm not making this up. I couldn't make it up if I tried. But she gave me a weather station as a Christmas present with her generous bonus from she was a teacher at Banner Elk Elementary School at the time, you know, and she got a bonus from the state for something and bought the weather station, and over the course of the next few months, I set it up in the backyard. It was a good thing she gave it to me, because we had wires running everywhere, and she couldn't complain about it since it was a gift from her. And now they're wireless, but then we had wires running in windows and all kinds of. It didn't look nice, but she was nice about it. And we started posting live weather data from my backyard, literally, in the fall of '99. And then it just kind of took off from there. Local media picked up on it. It wound up being a story. It hit the AP wire, was published all over the Southeast and places I'd never heard of before. And it was obvious that I'd stumbled across something, and it needed to come off of the university website, needed to be on its own. And so we started the business in the summer of 2000. And I think we'd been in Hickory since 2003. I think that was the year. Wanda was down here with me that day, I think, as I was climbing up. Our first station was actually behind the old, oh my goodness, it's not there anymore. Fast food place back behind the mall that's changed hands now several times, but that's where we started. We climbed up a tall light pole in nervous conditions to get the weather station up there. I'll think of the name of it in just a minute. It escapes me. They've gone out of business. But we've gone from that to being the most widely read media outlet in Northwest North Carolina. I don't really have a way to prove that. I have told the story many times, but no one's ever challenged me on it. So until somebody proves me wrong, I don't think any media outlet, and that would include any media outlet, TV, radio, website, or whatever, that originates in Northwest North Carolina, I don't think anyone can compete with the traffic that we generate. We generated, I checked last night, I know some of these are web crawler hits, they're not really people hits, but just every time the site is hit and clicking a number, 50 million page views so far in 2015. And we think somewhere around 300,000 readers each month. I never can keep up with how many weather stations we have around now. I know it's more than 70. It's somewhere close to that. Somewhere around 40 webcams around. We have a mobile app for your phone. We are the official weather partners for Merle Fest and Floyd Fest. We've been the official weather partner for Merle Fest for a long, long time. We have 5 meteorologists now that work with the site, and all of the other meteorologists other than me are not self-trained. They are professionally trained. We have 2 salespeople, an office manager, offices in Boone. We have graphic designers, people working with us, software developers, and network administrator. It takes a lot to keep this going. It's long past being about Ray, and it's about being a business. What do? We provide public forecast free of charge to anybody who wants to click on our site or the mobile app and get them. We provide weather data from real weather stations, and I say that because if you take your app out to Taylorsville or go to Beach Mountain or whatever else, and you go to some other app and it tells you what the temperature is, I hate to tell you, but they don't know. They literally make it up and put it out there with the assumption that you don't have a weather station to prove them wrong. So just remember that. Now, if you're here close to the Hickory Airport, they're able to get, that's public data, and they can get that. But if you're away from any public, and the public sources for weather information are very sparse, and if you're in a place like Taylorsville or Yadkinville, or if you get away from any airport facility, they make it up on the fly. I promise you, it's not real. In fact, if we were to try to look at the real temperature on top of Beach Mountain right now versus what was estimated by some other app and that would include some famous name brands, they would be very, very different. So I got tickled one day a few months ago. I was out running with my brother-in-law in Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to where I knew there was a real weather station. He went to one of these other apps, and we got running, and before long he was throwing clothes off. He was too hot, and I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't have gotten that one, should you? Okay, made my point. Don't go there. We do event planning and operational support for things like Merle Fest and Floyd Fest. That's something that we do. We do special hourly forecasts for events. We have webcams all over. Of course, we try our best to provide a great resource for advertising and promotion, and we are all about community outreach in various kinds of ways. Our goals as a company, first of all, is to provide accurate local weather information, an honest forecast. You know, I get, sometimes people will ask me, well, where do you get your forecast? And I'm like, that's kind of like asking a chef at a nice restaurant, which box of cake mix did he use off the shelf, out of the grocery store? I'm sorry, we do this ourselves. and in spite of the fact that there's a lot of dishonesty in this business, we do this ourselves. And David was up at 5 a.m. this morning, and he wrote part of the forecast. Our chief meteorologist in Asheville wrote part, and John, I think, was the other one on duty today. I had the morning off. I was so glad to be able to sleep in a little bit. We try to provide cost-effective means for advertising. We reach lots of people, but we have far less overhead than most media outlets, so we can do things that lots of types of media cannot do for a very low cost. We want to capture the essence of the places we are. We want to have fun. So everybody asks me, you still having fun? I'm like, it's a different kind of fun than it was back in 2000, but it is still fun. And we do our best to give back to the communities we serve in all kinds of different ways. I won't go into that. I'm not going to read off. Every time we go into a location, we brand a site locally. That is our bread and butter, is to provide local weather information and be a part of the community. So every time we go to a new location, our newest, by the way, is Galax, Virginia, Galax Weather, new webcam and weather station that just went up there and expanded that direction. And just to give you an idea, and this is the best I could do, now, if you want to know where Ray lives, it would be right in the middle of most of these dots over here, okay? That would be no surprise to you, I guess. But here's our reach. Our weather stations reach all the way from Balsam Gap, which is down here on the Parkway, all the way up to the very north end of the Blue Ridge Parkway. So that's our reach in terms of coverage area. We write custom forecasts for that entire region every single day. It's updated 3 times a day, and we provide live weather data from each of those places marked by a star right there. I do want to tell you about our app. It's really cool. If I wrote it, even though I wrote it myself, but it's available on Google Play and iTunes. We do charge you a couple of bucks. Let me take a break right here. There's one thing I wanted to do, and I completely forgot. I got to be careful and give us enough time. There's some note cards or some pieces of paper on your table and let me kind of take a quick break. And I was supposed to do this, and I'm a forgetful college professor, so I have a license for this, forgetting. I want to ask you 4 weather questions, okay? We'll find a way to get your cards over to David. David, raise your hand again. You've been introduced a couple of times. He's going to tell you who the winners are. Put your name on it and answer the 4 following questions. Whoever gets closest on each of these will get a prize, which is our 2016 Blue Ridge Parkway calendar, which you will agree is the most beautiful calendar you've ever seen, I'm sure. All right. First of all, the greatest one-day snow total in Hickory, North Carolina. The most one-day snow total in Hickory, North Carolina history, ever on record. All right? Be sure to put your name on it. You don't get the prize if you don't put your name. All right? How many inches of snow for one-day snow total? Secondly, what is the average snowfall for Hickory, North Carolina. Average yearly snowfall for Hickory, North Carolina. So there's two snow questions on a nice, warm, rainy day. Then, what's the hottest temperature ever recorded in Hickory, North Carolina? The hottest temperature ever recorded. A few of you were alive then. 1952, by the way, was the year of that. I'll tell you that part. And then, of course, what's the coldest temperature ever recorded in Hickory, North Carolina? All right, I'll give you a quick recap. Number one, greatest one-day snow. Number two, average annual snow for Hickory. Number three, the hottest temperature ever recorded. And number four, the coldest temperature ever recorded. All right? All right, so if y'all can find a way while I'm continuing to talk to get these over to David, he'll announce the winners here when we're finished. All right? All right, so we have to pay for this thing as well. And, you know, we do this with advertising. We do sell some things on the race marketplace. We do charge a little bit for the app, but it's mostly about advertising that makes us tick. That's how we make this work. All right. Now, I know everybody wants to, before I even ask for questions, let me go ahead and ask the first one. Why the heck is it so warm? Okay, did I get that one right? this winter. Well, let me tell you about the forecast, and then I'll give you an idea of why it's been so warm. And I'm not going to give you all the rationale. I could give you all kinds of stuff with it. We published every year what we call the fearless forecast for Western North Carolina for snow totals and such. And I'll just cut to the chase on it. You know, those were the things that we said. Boy, this is kind of helping on one of the questions if you still got your piece of paper. At least it puts you in the ballpark. For Hickory, we forecast 9 inches of snow total for the winter. All right? Beech Mountain, we forecast 110. Okay, if you want to know how different your weather is from Beech Mountain. All right? So there we are. Now, why did we do that? Let me go to the very end. I'm going to cut to, whoops, I went too far then. And tell you what our rationale was. Let me get to that. All right. And I'm actually, this slide was written in October, so you know, it's our story, we're going to stick to it, but so far so good, all right? We said we had a high confidence in a wet winter, okay? We had medium confidence in a slow start to winter. Well, I think at this point in December, that was written in October, I think we'd say high confidence in a slow start to winter. I think we can do that. Snowier than average overall, though, in the foothills. We think the months of January, February, maybe even into early March. These rain events, it'll be just cold enough that a couple of them are going to get us with some pretty good snowstorms, and thus our forecast for all of that snow. It'll be better in the mountains than it will be the foothills, we think, because of this El Nino winters tend to pump lots of warm air into the southeast, which we are seeing, and the higher elevations tend to fare better with big events. Big, wet, heavy snows tend to be big storms. Slightly colder than normal. I know it's been warm before up till now, but we think that'll turn around eventually. And the heart of the winter is going to be late January, February this year. So far so good. I look pretty smart. You're going to think I doctored my slide. I promise. That was all written in October, and we'll see how it turns out. We do think there's a little higher risk for icy, wintry mix type storms in the foothills as well, because of so much warm air gets worked in at low levels of the atmosphere. You know, or I'm sorry, at upper levels of the atmosphere, we think there'll be some icing events as well. All right, well now let me answer the question, why has it been so warm? Now, eventually, we think the pattern's going to go to something like this. All right, out in the Pacific, the sea surface temperatures are screaming hot. I mean, they are way above normal. In one of the stronger El Ninos ever recorded. It's not the strongest, but it's in the probably the top 10 or top 20 at the very least. And that is the breeding ground for lots of storms that come across the Pacific, run into either southwestern U.S. or across Mexico, into the Gulf, and eventually we think that'll take a more coastal track as the winter settles in, and these rain events, well, some of them will be snow events. But up until now, what's happened is that storm track has been in the center of the country. Okay, the Rockies have gotten plastered several times already, and all the way up into the Great Lakes region. So that's been the path of snow right here. We think as the winter keeps going, we think it'll go there. All right, it's time for me to quit. I got maybe a couple of quick questions. Maybe I answered your main question, why has it been so warm? But we'll go from there. Somebody have a question? Yes?
This is pretty obvious. Your view of climate change and what we have to do with it.
Oh man, you get me hot water right now. What we ought to do about it is somebody else's question. That's for other people. But I have to tell you, I'll tell you what I've been saying for the last 5 years. Anybody that would tell you that climate change isn't real, don't believe them about anything else either. It's been real, it's been clear for a long, long time, okay? All kinds of other excuses have been offered, and there's still question about the magnitude and all those kinds of things, but whether or not it's happening has not really been a question for a long, long time. But I'll leave it what to do about it.
But now I wasn't saying what to do about it. I was saying how much do we influence it?
There is no doubt that there are man-made implications for what's happening with the warming planet. There is no question about that. And like I said, there really hasn't been for a long, long time. Interesting little piece on that. Back in 1990, I was doing research at Langley in NASA, and the very earliest person in the late 80s that started doing research on climate change actually spoke to our group that day, or one week during that, and that's when he would have been labeled as a heretic and a crazy person then, but they were seeing that all the way back into the late 80s, and their modeling had predicted what was going to happen, and so that I got to hear this before anybody else heard it. Yes?
Why did some of the early people predict ice age only 20 years ago?
Well, people say all kinds of crazy things, so it's just a matter of picking the right people to listen to.
Pretty popular.
But it is, it's happening, and it is evident. I mean, we keep having the warmest year and the warmest month and all that kind of stuff. There just isn't any question about it happening. Yes?
How accurate are the woolly worms?
Man, y'all are trying your best to get me in such big trouble with questions. The woolly worm people claim they are very, very, very accurate. They're my friends. I'm not going to say anything other. You're not going to get anything else out of me on that one.
I'll give you an easy one. White Christmas?
0% chance. We published even in Boone, North Carolina. There is no chance. In fact, the opposite may be true. It very well could be one of the warmest Christmases ever in the eastern U.S. So, yeah, the ski slopes are very unhappy. There's not much I can do about it. I try not to celebrate it. But there's not. It's just it is what it is right now. We think in January their complaints will be, yeah, it's snowing so much and you're scaring everybody. They won't drive up the mountain because of all the snow. They're like farmers. They can't ever be happy about the weather. All right, so we better, let me do...
One more question, Lisa.
Okay, one more.
I'm wondering about barometric pressure changes, and I get migraines, and I've been told that that's something that I need to watch out for. I don't know what to do about it. I can usually predict when we're going to have bad weather, but I'm wondering if you have any knowledge to help it.
Well, that is an issue for a number of people who are sensitive to that. I can tell you the remedy. Move to San Diego.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
San Diego has the least barometric pressure and weather change in all of the U.S. And so if it's a real problem, move to San Diego. That's the place to be for the, you know, imagine being a weather person, weather forecaster in San Diego. I mean, you don't go out to the beach every day and say, it's warm and 82, whatever. You know, going, all right, we need to get the answers to our questions and do our winners. David, quickly, can you announce our winners?
Sure, so I think we have 9 winners.
Oh, wow. I think I can do that.
Well, that's kind of cheating. That's 9 winners, and 9 of you got 1 of the 4 questions right. So I'm giving you some benefit of the doubt. When it comes to getting them all correct, no one did. I think maybe 1 person got 2 of the 4. So
You want to guess how many calendars I've got right here?
9? It was meant to be.
You did not know.
So the answer to the first question, which was the greatest single day snowfall record for Hickory, is 16 inches of snow. And the 2 winners in that category go to Rich Brown, and then I just wrote down the last name, I believe, Blackburn. So our 2 winners, Rich and Blackburn. We got our 2016 Blue Ridge Parkway calendar, which is a home production of Ray's Weather now in about its 14th year, so please enjoy.
And almost sold out.
And almost sold
Big
out.
collector's items.
The coldest, the average annual snowfall, which none of you got correct for, Hickory is 7 inches a year. And the coldest morning, or the coldest...
Who won that?
No one.
Oh.
No one.
0.
And the coldest temperature ever recorded in Hickory was 8 degrees below 0. That was in 1985. And Ray mentioned that that's when basically all the records in North Carolina were set, and along much of the East Coast. And no one got that one correct either. We had a few of you that were very close, but since I'm giving you a little leeway as it is, I didn't count who was closest. You had to nail it. And then a number of you got the actual record high temperature. The hottest day in Hickory ever recorded 105 degrees. And in that category, we have 7 winners.
Wow.
So Bruce B, and excuse me if I mess up a name or 2 here. Lynn Lower, there, okay. Gary Knox. Ernie. Somebody had enough time to look on their phone. Becky Feud, or Fuel, excuse me, Becky. Becky, okay. Farrell. Charles, I won't even try. Snipes, okay. And then Jan. Bon. Thank you. I didn't even have to say her last name. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I'll give it back to Chris.
Thank you guys. Thank you. We appreciate it. We have a book of quotes on being thankful because we're thankful for you for coming today. So we appreciate that. Don't forget, Greg, you and Dan want to come on up. Don't forget buckets for Salvation Army the last Thursday for that. Also flowers for John LaFontaine's wife Emily, I believe, if you want to give a donation to that. Dan, do we have somebody coming up on behalf of the waitstaff? If somebody, the waitresses come on up front. We took in $60 today for a total of $954. Ladies, thank you very much for everything you do for us. We really do appreciate it. Let's give the staff a round of applause again. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Also, no meetings the next 2 weeks. You're welcome to come, but won't be any meetings. Just draw one. Just draw one. Last 3, 161. It's not the right one, I don't have it. 161. I think 203-2161. Steve Mull from the back of the room.
I can't win.
We've got a winner. Just anyone you want, you can pick down below. You don't have to pick from the top, anywhere you want.
All right, we're just gonna go in the middle of this thing.
Middle, bottom.
Ace of spades.
Ace of spades.
I'm sorry.
The ace of spades. Congratulations. Steve, get the picture with the ace. That's probably right.
All right.
Philip just reminded me, probably because the weather forecaster drew the number. He did have the right forecast. Merry Christmas to everybody, and let's close with the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?